It's Texas. Of course they're going to build something as big as a freeway right next to the freeway.
Technically, engineers call these frontage roads.
Houston calls these feeder roads where you can come off the freeway and go flying onto this high-speed one-way street.
And these are iconic in Texas, even more than where you get your burger at.
And nothing's more Texas than Whataburger. What about Chicago?
And before you can throw away the wrapper to your private equity chow,
you're on the frontage road and back onto the freeway.
And these make every Texas interstate into gigantic main streets.
This is so different than the rest of the country where exiting means making a left turn or a right turn. All the shopping goes this way, perpendicular to the freeway. In Texas, it's parallel. The shopping goes with the freeway.
And it makes every Texas town kind of look the same. So why does the Lone Star State do this?
This is definitely different because this is definitely Texas. But the question is this good? Well, let's find out.
Freeway traffic goes really fast.
You can't have a driveway connect directly onto the freeway. You imagine semi-trucks pulling out onto major interstates at 5 miles an hour?
After all, the entire goal of an interstate highway is to drive hundreds and hundreds of miles without having to stop.
And how inefficient it would be. It'd be like driving across the country on a main street.
So to keep high-speed traffic going, every state limits where cars can get on the freeway and where they can exit the freeway.
They put up walls and barriers and fences to make sure that the dedicated on-ramp and off-ramp are the only ways you can get onto the freeway. They call this limited access.
And back in the 1950s, this was a problem Texas was trying to solve.
You have a busy state highway and there's businesses and neighborhoods and side streets all connected to it. So busy, in fact, that you really need to turn this thing into a freeway. Except you can't because there's a bunch of businesses and neighborhoods and side streets that are connected to it. So what do you do?
And you can't just take away a driveway from a house or a business that already is connected to the street
without giving them some kind of reasonable alternative. One idea is to come in behind the business like here and build a backage road and everybody accesses the business from the back side.
But that means you're not just building a new freeway, you're building a whole network of city streets.
The mastermind behind Texas Frontage Roads was a guy named DeWitt Greer. He was sort of the grandfather of the Texas Department of Transportation, and he had an idea. If you're building the freeway and you build two parallel roads next to the freeway, well, those can serve the access to the business directly, and we can save money because we're not having to go around and build backage roads or buy out businesses.
So he gave it a try outside of Houston.
Best I can tell, this is the first frontage road in the state of Texas, if not the whole country. Go back and look at aerial photography, 1948, what's now Interstate 45, south of downtown Houston, and this frontage road was here in the photo. Although I'm sure it's changed a little bit in the last 80 years.
Building frontage roads outside of the freeway is not unique to Texas, but most states build a two-way road, one that almost never connects directly to the freeway itself. You have to use the bridge and ramps to one of those perpendicular cross streets. The ones DeWitt Greer built are one-way roads, with off-ramps and on-ramps directly tying the freeway to the frontage road and the frontage road back onto the freeway. Drivers liked their convenience, cities liked all the businesses that would grow on them, and by the end of the 20th century, Texas had built over 6,000 miles of them. And from an engineering standpoint, one-way frontage roads create a lot of cool side effects.
The magic is in operational flexibility. Something goes wrong with the main freeway, you've got this frontage road here ready to go.
Have a bad crash or construction project, people can use the frontage road.
And if traffic's backing way up, the fire trucks and tow trucks can use the frontage road and get up close to it this way.
When a Texas-sized rainstorm starts filling up the underpass,
and the water's up to my chin where even a big pickup truck can't get through it, so they have to close the freeway down. Well, the frontage roads, they may be flat at level, they may still be able to be open. I think I'm ready to start my NBA career here. 11'5".
And now that there's a 100-mile-long continuous street right next to the freeway,
if somebody's riding their bike or on foot, and they're wanting to follow Interstate 10, well, I know the frontage road isn't the best place in the world to walk or bike, but it's going to be a whole lot safer than being up on the freeway.
It also means that every single freeway interchange has a backup freeway interchange down below.
Because of Houston's high water table, those freeway ramps go way up high. They're very impressive interchanges. But what locals know is if you come down here to street level, there's an entire redundant system with the four frontage roads all meeting at four different stoplights. So if you do have to close one of these ramps, no problem. You just dump everybody down here and run them through the light.
And that makes property values near freeway interchanges go up in Texas instead of kind of going down like it does everywhere else.
Gotta admit, it's pretty cool to exit a Costco and boom, right there, that's the freeway.
Normally the land underneath a freeway-to-freeway interchange is not that desirable. Drivers might be busy zipping back and forth over the property, but they have no ramps to get to the land underneath. All the valuable shopping space is at least a mile away, where there is a place to exit the freeway. But continuous Texas frontage roads make everywhere valuable, even underneath the interchange.
This land isn't dead. It's very much occupied and making money and business because there's actually a way to get to the land use down here.
It's all thanks to those 4 one-way streets. Of course, being one-way creates its own set of problems.
If I need to go that way, even one driveway, I'm out of luck because, it's a one-way. The good news is in the city, I only have to go half a mile down to flip around and come back. But out in the country,
you can't make a left turn out of your driveway or drive backwards to visit your neighbors next door and actually follow the rules. Might require a 5-mile detour because you need a bridge to go to the other side, so you go back over the bridge and go to your neighbors. And at that point, I might as well just drive the wrong way down the street. So to prevent that in places where there aren't that many bridges, Texas make the rural frontage roads two-way. And they don't do it like other states. Texas can't help themselves. They connect the freeway directly to the frontage road anyway. And that can cause a safety issue because, well, the ramp to use this is really weird. You fly off the freeway and you charge right toward the oncoming traffic who you hope stop for you or yield, because on most Texas frontage roads, the cars on the off-ramp get the right-of-way, which is weird. And then you hope they don't get confused in the dark, see the off-ramp and think, oh, I'll take that.
And when you're driving on the frontage road on the left side of the freeway, so you're kind of driving opposite the traffic, right? This off-ramp here, it's at such a shallow angle, such a smooth right turn that somebody not paying close attention might think this is an entrance ramp and zip on going the wrong way.
TxDOT have been working to try to fix this. Here in Amarillo, their engineers have realigned the traffic on the frontage road so it meets the ramp at more of a 90-degree angle.
Curving around like this makes it obvious to this guy that this off-ramp here is not the on-ramp.
This is a good change.
Research shows that converting a two-way to a one-way doesn't necessarily make the total number of crashes come down, but the type of crash, those deadly head-on collisions, those go way down.
It's hard to imagine Texas without these, but 25 years ago, Texas came this close to scrapping frontage roads for good. This video is not sponsored by Earn Cash Back on the Chasm Bank Liberty Card.
I'd like to make a payment.
Earn points for travel.
Yeah, but I made a payment like a week ago.
Double points for gas.
I don't want that. I want to just be able to make a
Generous
payment.
credit limit increase.
No, I don't want credit limit.
6 months of discounted food
I'm
delivery.
just trying to pay off my credit card. Shouldn't be this hard.
Crippling.
Interest payments.
At least now you're being honest.
The summer of '01, Texas almost gave up on frontage roads entirely.
The Texas Transportation Commission voted on a policy that would change frontage roads from automatic, build them everywhere, to limited case-by-case situations because they saw these as being expensive. It's kind of funny.
DeWitt Greer had invented these as a way to save money. But now,
all they saw was double the land, double the concrete, so they wanted to phase it out. But it got huge pushback from Fort Worth, Plano, and El Paso, who were like, no, I want my frontage road. Well, how come frontage roads don't play music anymore?
So instead, over the past 25 years, TxDOT have gotten really good at creating a set of rules to make sure frontage roads keep working even when they get busy.
Now, you need enough room between the stoplight and the off-ramp for these to work right, or else you're going to have some weird problems.
This modern freeway interchange off Beltway 8 uses modern standards. Works pretty well.
So you need somewhere in between 200 to 400 feet for what they call vehicle storage, which sets the room you need to store cars while they're waiting for the red light. And on a busy road like Beltway 8, they stack up quick. Then you need some room for the cars to be able to decelerate safely to a stop.
And not just from the ramp to the stoplight, but the ramp to the back of the line of the cars waiting for the red light.
That's just a little extra space to make sure cars can safely and gently get stopped for a red light rather than slamming into the back of the line of the cars waiting. Finally, you need weaving space, room for the cars to merge back and forth into the left lane or the right lane.
The traffic's coming onto the frontage road on the left. Some of those drivers are going to want to make a right-hand turn.
And the amount of weaving space you need really varies. In the city, you might need as much as 1,000 feet. We didn't walk that far. The countryside, maybe 500 feet. But you start to add it all together, and you end up with a huge distance.
But it's well earned. Texas learned their lesson from older freeways built 50 years ago, where they wished they had this kind of space.
Vehicle storage is backing way up into the deceleration section, into the weaving section, and the ramp is so close. This one, I think, is only 500 feet. Drivers have nowhere to go. In fact, at this point, vehicle storage is backed onto the ramp itself.
Worse, traffic waiting for the red light backs into the through lanes on the freeway, which can cause rear-end crashes or at minimum ruin freeway flow for everybody else just trying to drive through. So a few decades ago, Texas tried something new.
So normally you'd have off-ramp, cross-street, on-ramp. This would flip it. You'd have on-ramp, cross-street, off-ramp. Instead of a diamond, it looks like an X. And that's why Texas calls this the X configuration.
Now, instead of running out of space for storage and weaving, you have almost unlimited space because you go all the way back to the previous street.
It's kind of weird, right? You go under the big green exit sign with the name of the cross street you want to come to, but you're still 3/4 of a mile before you get to the cross street.
But I imagine there's fewer complaints of people having to exit a little early versus traffic clogging up at the stoplight. And there are some weird side effects.
Something called slingshotting. When traffic comes to a stop on the mainline freeway, a driver may jump off, zip down the frontage road and come immediately back onto the freeway, which they can do because there's no stoplight here because it's the X configuration.
So in the name of science, I decided to give it a try. Slingshotting is perfectly legal, but morally it feels a little bit wrong to be passing everybody, even though it does feel pretty satisfying. And while I'm sure this helps the mainline freeway flow, there's no way this can be good for the frontage road.
Honestly, slingshotting is pretty cool.
The opposite cheat code are people wanting to keep driving down the frontage road but don't want to stop for the light. So they enter the freeway, take advantage of the bridge, exit back to the frontage road, and skip the light.
On the X configuration, jump onto the freeway.
During busy parts of the day, this can't be good for the freeway to have extra cars jump in, make the traffic sloshy, and then dive back out.
Whoa, I skipped the light. I'll just skip like half the businesses.
But hey, it helps out the cross street. There's fewer cars trying to cross at the light, which I can imagine gets pretty complicated.
I don't envy the engineers who have to do the signal timing for these intersections because already diamond interchanges with their two stoplights, well, the left turns kind of lock into each other. But now you have all the through traffic, lots of it trying to go through, so...
This is where it would have been great to talk with the TxDOT engineer and learn how they do it. The state was unable to make somebody available for this video, but they did send me several engineering manuals. And one of my favorite features in there...
The X might not mark the spot for everybody, but here's a vowel everyone in Texas can get behind. The letter U. One-way streets by nature mean you have to turn around to go the other way. And so instead of making everybody go through a left turn and wait for that light and then go through another left turn and wait for the second light, you just make the bridge huge so there's room for a 20-foot lane.
So cars can hook around, skip all the traffic lights, and come out clean on the other side. They call this the Texas turnaround.
Of course, there's a yield sign here, so you don't just get to charge right into traffic.
Especially at the angle the U puts the driver in, as they come out on the other side of the bridge and try to rejoin traffic.
It's a little difficult. You can see the traffic coming that way all right. You can see the traffic on the frontage road that way all right. It's the traffic making a left-hand turn like this that you gotta go and look over like this. Left turn lane's almost impossible. You have to crane your neck and pray. I can't even see what color their light is. Though if you follow the design TxDOT wants, you either put in a full merge lane like you got right here, or at least a 100-foot oops space.
Which is going to be more forgiving than dumping drivers straight out into the lane. But ask any Texan, and they'll tell you that even an imperfect Texas turnaround has superpowers. And there's another superpower frontage roads have. Make it easier to build a new freeway.
It's a growing area's catch-22. They need a freeway later. They can't justify putting it in now. So they wait and the houses and businesses go in and soon there's no land left to build the freeway. What TxDOT can do with frontage roads is go ahead and buy a wide swath of land, put the frontage roads in now because they're cheap. They don't have any overpasses or anything. connect all the neighborhoods and businesses to the frontage roads. People get used to it being there. And once everything's all grown out, then spend the money to put the freeway in the middle where they've saved all that land.
It's worked well all over the state. Here south of Houston, where they're building Spur 5, 3.5 miles in the heart of town, where most cities would have no business being able to squeeze a freeway in, Texas can do it pretty easily. Utah liked the idea, so they stole it.
Rewind the clock 15 years ago is one of my earliest TV news stories, and this east-west connector through Lehi, Utah. This town was like 45,000 people at the time. There's no way you could justify building a full freeway.
But good engineers are clever. They figured out if they bought land now and built the cheaper frontage roads up front, later when the population got crazy, they could build the full freeway.
Today there's over 100,000 people, and I'm willing to bet there's another 100,000 on the way. And I just noticed they're copying the Texas U-turn as well there, look.
Which they want you to call a Utah U. The Texas-style frontage roads is something I bet the Tampa Bay area wishes they'd thought of.
A case study here is Highway 54 north of Tampa. This really should have been a freeway, but back before this area grew up, there's just no money to justify
So
it.
they built this huge ground-level arterial street.
They did the best they could to try to limit the driveways, but the businesses still showed up, and now if they ever need to turn this thing into a freeway, it's going to be a real pain.
Not to say you can't add a frontage road and bridges later. US 19 around the corner, Florida is making space.
Of course, anything's possible if you put your mind to it, I suppose.
As you head south toward Clearwater, 19 does turn into a freeway with frontage roads. But because it was originally a city street,
They just widened the street a little bit more and then squished a freeway in the middle, made the outside itty-bitty little frontage roads.
and just for fun, a Chicago suburb did the opposite. They built the frontage roads, but no bridges.
It's along a street with stoplights, and that means sometimes a long wait because they have to take turns on who gets the green.
Instead of a bridge reducing the number of groups of cars that need a green light, the frontage roads adds a new group.
Texas turnaround, that's a Chicago turnaround right there. I love these big overhead signs that make it look like you're on a freeway, like, oh, I'm going to exit to Wheeling Road. Okay. I think this was something they built back in the 50s that they would never do again.
But that's the fun of having every state do their own thing. Some things don't work, but other things work really well.
Oh, this is beautiful. Remember what I was talking about, the ground level interchange, the volleyball that's completely redundant to the big flyover ramps? Here at US 90 and Beltway 8 on the east side, they're relying on that entirely. They don't have any flyover ramps yet because they don't need any.
Bridges are by far the most expensive part of a freeway, and freeway-to-freeway flyover ramps are enormously expensive.
It allows you to phase in building two freeways that come together without having to spend the money on the expensive flyover ramps until you need them. You can add them later.
Texas grew so fast in the last 30 years, instead of raising taxes to build all the freeways they needed, they really leaned into tollways. And to help sell the idea were the free frontage roads.
So right here next to my hotel is Beltway 8, which is Houston's second, I guess for the time being, third beltway around the city. But it's a toll road, and if I'm just going a mile or so down, it seems kind of silly to enter the toll road, pay a toll, and then exit back off. Well, I can use the frontage road. The frontage road here is free. It has to be. It has driveways connected to it. And I suppose if I'm a real cheapskate, I could use significant portions of Beltway 8 totally free by using the frontage road. It just means I have to stop at a lot of red lights.
But this only works if they've built out the entire frontage road. This here is the fourth beltway, the Grand Parkway, a toll road. And it's over 175 miles long. And not all of it has a free frontage road yet. The Creekland subdivision built their frontage road, but because the land around them hasn't developed, the frontage road doesn't go anywhere. Just dumps you right onto the freeway. Tollway.
Well, that means everybody in this new subdivision has to pay a toll anytime they leave their home or come back.
Something these new homeowners didn't think about before they bought their house. Because in the rest of Texas, there's always a free option. But not here.
Which means these people are toll captives.
There's no doubt high-speed one-way frontage roads are uniquely Texan. And they help create photos like this that urban planners love to hate.
Now, are these good? I don't know. They're definitely Texas. Texas is a state that has a lot of flat, available private land. And in America, you have the right to develop your land generally. And so the transportation system is going to always be playing catch-up with the development that's happening. This is a very Texas solution. Is it a Vermont solution? New Hampshire solution? Absolutely not. but for the Lone Star State, I'm gonna like it. From Houston, Texas, I'll see you next time.
Real quick, I wanted to show you this. People making their own off-ramp from the freeway to the frontage road. That'll get you a ticket, but cops aren't everywhere. Pickup trucks are, though. Hey, coming up next month, a video that took me across 7 states, and it's probably going to turn into 7 videos. Stay tuned.